boys and girls. I'm Miss Sherry. I'm here with Miss Lydia today as we learn more about classifying animals. Miss Lydia, do you remember how scientists classify animals?
Yes. Remember that poster that helped us? Let's say the mnemonic together. All my best friends represent vertebrates.
Miss Lydia, what types of characteristics do scientists use to classify animals into these groups?
Well, I remember that too. Cold-blooded and warm-blooded, invertebrate and invertebrate.
That's right. I see on our chart that reptiles have hard, rough, scaly skin, that they lay eggs in nests on land, and that they breathe air through lungs. Great. I hope you boys and girls at home remember also. I have an idea, Miss Lydia. Let's review some of those riddles. Here's the first one. I breathe oxygen using lungs, have hard scaly skin, and lay eggs in nests. Some examples of animals that are in my group are lizards and snakes. What group of animals am I?
Oh, that would be reptiles. Here's a riddle for you. I do not have a spine, and I am the group that makes up the most animals on Earth, including insects, arachnids, crustaceans, and many other types of animals. What group of animals am I?
Oh, I know the answer to this one. Invertebrates. This is fun. Now, I have one for you. At the beginning of my life, I'm an aquatic animal and breathe using gills. But as I grow, I slowly develop lungs and morph into a water and land animal. What group of animals am I?
Let me think. Oh, I know, amphibians. Are you ready for another one, Miss Sherry? I am a classification of animals that is made up of amphibians, mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles that all have backbones. What group of animals am I?
Let me think. I've got the answer to this one. Vertebrates.
That's right.
My turn. I am covered with scales, live in fresh and salt water, and I breathe using gills. I am cold-blooded. What group of animals am I?
That would be fish. I really enjoyed these riddles. What a fun way to review everything we've been learning.
In the last lesson, we learned more about reptiles. We learned that reptiles have hard, scaly skin, that they lay eggs in nests on land, and that they breathe air through lungs. In today's Read Aloud, you will learn more about another group of animals that lay eggs in nests: birds. Close your eyes for a moment and think about a bird you have seen before. It may have been in your own backyard or on a TV show or even in a book. Share what you already know about birds. That's great. It sounds like you already know some great things about birds. I also heard some good questions you have about birds. As you listen carefully to today's Read Aloud, to learn more about birds, listen for information about their beaks and feet, and to possibly learn the answer to the questions you just asked. Let's also listen for the main ideas or important points in the Read Aloud so that we can discuss the main ideas later. Miss Candy is back to read about another of Rattenborough's friends. Are you ready, Miss Candy?
Yes, I am. I'm excited to hear what Rattenborough has to share with us today. Hello, folks. It's me, Rattenborough, once again. If you recall, you learned all about reptiles last time. How exciting that was. Can you remember which group of animals you are going to hear about today? Birds. I can't wait to tell you all about my friend Ebenezer. I met him on the continent of Africa. Before I tell you about him, I thought we would begin today's lesson by quickly reviewing how Paolo, Tabitha, and Anna are related to each other. Remember, just because they don't look the same, they do have quite a bit in common, beginning with the fact that they are all members of the animal kingdom. I brought along special diagrams of their skeletons to help you. Can you tell which skeleton belongs to each animal? What common characteristic is visible in all three? Yes, all three of them have backbones. So as you probably recall, scientists classify them as, that's right, vertebrates. We're not going to spend much time talking about their internal body temperature today. By now you should know that none of them have constant body temperatures. Paolo, Tabitha, and Anna are all cold-blooded, and their temperature changes depending on their surroundings. That makes two characteristics that all three of them hold in common: the fact that they are all vertebrates and the fact that they are cold-blooded animals. So now, let's see where Ebenezer egret fits in. We know that he belongs to the animal group classified as birds. Let's confirm it. Are birds vertebrates? Indeed they are. Ebenezer has a strong backbone that reaches all the way up his long neck and supports his head. His bony skeleton is very important. His bones are extremely light with lots of air cavities or hollow places inside them to help him fly. He uses his muscular legs to push off the ground, and then his wings take over. The weight and arrangement of his bones help him soar through the air. Birds are the lucky ones, aren't they? How many of you have ever wished that you could fly? I do like very much being a rat, but sometimes I think it would be fun to fly. Ebenezer is very graceful, isn't he? So far, you have learned in detail just about cold-blooded animals, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. Do you think Ebenezer and all birds are cold-blooded too? Scientists classify birds as warm-blooded because their internal body temperature remains constant no matter where they fly. Birds have several characteristics that enable them to fly, but being warm-blooded is essential to flight. They have very high metabolism, as only warm-blooded animals do. Metabolism is the process which produces energy in most animals' bodies. When we speak about the high metabolism of birds, we are speaking about the fact that they have a steady flow of energy that helps them maintain the high levels of activity required by flight. The higher the activity level of an animal, the higher its metabolism is likely to be. What this means when it comes to eating is that they need lots of food to maintain that energy. Have you ever heard the saying, "eats like a bird," for someone who eats very small amounts of food at one time? Ebenezer told me that an important thing to remember about this expression is that it does not mean that birds do not eat very much. In fact, Ebenezer and birds like him need to eat 2 times their body weight in food every day because they have such high metabolism and burn lots more energy than most animals. If you needed the same amount of food in a day that a bird needs, you would be eating about 100 pounds of food every day. Of course, there are lots of small meals a day for birds, quite unlike Anna Anaconda, who sometimes eats only one big meal in a period of many days. So, someone who eats like a bird is usually someone who picks at their food and only eats small bits at a time. What is the primary source of energy for organisms like you and me? It's the sun. You may have learned about food chains and cycles in nature, and you may learn more about food chains in grade 3 ecology domain. Green plants capture the sun's energy, and it is transferred to animals when they eat plants are plant-eating animals. Energy from the sun powers everything we do on Earth. Unlike cold-blooded animals that depend upon their surroundings to regulate internal body temperatures, warm-blooded animals are able to produce heat for energy within their own bodies. They can travel farther and live in more extreme conditions than cold-blooded animals. However, because cold-blooded animals have a much lower metabolism, they do not need as much energy to stay alive. Remember what I just said about the eating habits of Ebenezer compared to Anna? The only warm-blooded animals that are able to go without food for long periods of time are hibernating animals. That's because their metabolism slows way down when they are hibernating, and they require less energy to stay alive. So, like all birds, Ebenezer is warm-blooded. And he's a vertebrate with lightweight bones to help him fly. Look at this image and describe some other physical characteristics that help scientists classify Ebenezer as a bird. Great eyes, boys and girls. Let's begin with his wings. Ebenezer has wings, and wings are essential to flight. The shape of a bird's wings determines how far and how high the bird can fly, in addition to its lightweight bones. You just heard about the bones in birds' wings. Miss Sherry, can you tell me what helps to make the bird's wing bones so lightweight?
That would be cavities or hollow spaces.
Let's look at this picture of an American bald eagle. His long, broad wings are built so that he can glide or move smoothly and continuously. He can soar great distances, traveling up to 65 miles per hour. Compare the eagle wings to the tiny tapered wings of the hummingbird, one of the smallest birds on Earth. Tapered means that it becomes gradually smaller or thinner at one end. His wings beat rapidly, 20 or more beats per second, as he hovers or floats and flutters in midair. What else helps Ebenezer and all birds fly? Feathers are a great help, serving as lightweight coverings for their wings. They mesh together as their wings flap downward, parting again to let air through as their wings sweep upward again. Feathers also act as insulation. Insulation is an extra layer that protects birds' skin from the sun and traps in heat, providing energy and warmth in winter months. The point of the feather, where it is attached to the bird's body, is called the quill. The quills of birds' feathers were once used as writing tools. People would dip them into an ink pot for writing on paper. All birds have feathers. No other animals do. So if you spot a feathered friend, you may assume that it's a bird. Because their precious feathers take quite a beating, birds take good care of them and often preen them with their beaks to keep them clean, waterproof, and in the right position. Take a look at Ebenezer's beak. Isn't it a beauty? Not all birds have such long beaks. Why do you think his beak is so long? Well, I'll tell you. He told me it's a terrific hunting weapon. He uses the end of his beak to grab small prey such as snails and crayfish in the surface waters of the marshland, and to spear larger prey such as frogs and snakes on the marshy wetlands. Appearing in many different shapes and sizes, beaks are often used to identify birds. Their main function is for feeding, so a bird's beak can provide scientists with clues to a bird's eating habits. Take a look at this finch's beak. It's the top middle image. Do you think this little beak can spear an animal in the same way an egret's beak can? Depending upon where you live, you may have seen a finch at your bird feeder. They use their beaks to crack open seeds. Next time you see a bird, look at his beak and see if you can guess whether it eats fish, seeds, insects, mice, or nectar. How would you describe the features of these beaks? Birds' feet are another clue to the different bird habitats and lifestyles. In the top middle picture, you see that hawks have long talons or claws to catch their prey. The next picture shows waders have long legs. On the bottom row, woodpeckers have feet adapted to climbing trees, and perching birds have single hind or rear toes for grasping branches. Lastly, ducks and geese have webbed feet for swimming.
I remember I heard in a previous read aloud that a particular animal has webbing between its claws. Who can tell me which reptile that is? That's right, the pond turtle. Animals with webbed feet have a layer of skin between each of their toes.
Birds are the only group of animals that give birth by only one means. There are fascinating pattern breakers in all of the other groups. All birds lay eggs. Their eggs are yolk-filled and have hard, calcified shells. You learned in the last read aloud that reptile eggs are often calcified. Who can tell me what calcified means? They need to be incubated or kept warm, so the parents sit on them until they hatch. This can be dangerous because sitting birds are prime targets for predators. Most birds prepare a nest or shelter for their young, using whatever materials are available to them in nature. Some make nests from twigs and straw. Others build nests of mud. Woodpeckers create cavities in trees, whereas kingfishers bore into riverbanks. These nests provide safe havens or safe places, protecting both eggs and baby chicks from harsh weather and animal predators. Some birds, like chickens, are able to see, walk, and feed themselves almost immediately after hatching. However, many birds are born in a very immature stage and require a lengthy period of parental care. We spent lots of time today talking about what helps birds fly. Strong muscles, light bones, powerful wings, and airy feathers. But did you know that in spite of having all those things in common, some birds are unable to fly? Flightless birds includes the largest bird on Earth, the ostrich. With a 7-foot wingspan, it seems odd that ostriches can't fly. But they hold records for being both the fastest birds on land and the fastest two-legged animal on Earth, able to run up to 40 miles per hour. Australian emus, also large and flightless, look a lot like ostriches and often travel long distances to find food. Penguins are perhaps the most endearing or affection-inspiring of all flightless birds, marching upright like people as they move around in their habitats. These aquatic birds of the southern hemisphere waddle along on their short legs and webbed feet down to the sea. Their wings serve as flippers to carry them swiftly through Arctic waters, traveling up to 15 miles per hour. Miss Sherry, what other animals have you learned about that swim through the water?
Well, I remember learning about fish, turtles, and salamanders.
That's right. Can you tell me the body parts that help these animals swim effectively?
Sure. Their tails, fins, webbed or oar-shaped feet help them swim effectively.
Birds live all over the world, in cool, wet rainforests, along ocean shores, in dark, dense evergreens, in hot, dry deserts, and on the banks of lakes, rivers, and streams. Some travel long distances, migrating to warmer homes in winter, whereas others are homebodies, never straying very far from where they were born. Some can swim, others can fly. Some enchant us with their songs, whereas others shout, "Call, call." Birds come in all different shapes and sizes, but all birds are warm-blooded, egg-laying vertebrates with feathers and wings. Birds are very different from the animals we will study next time. So far, you've learned about fish, amphibians, reptiles, and birds. What do you suppose is next? I'll give you a hint. They are hairy and warm-blooded, and you may just find that you know more about them than you think you know. Thank you for being such good listeners. I will see you very soon.
That was so interesting, Miss Sherry. I learned even more about birds from the Read Aloud. How about our friends at home? Did you enjoy that Read Aloud too?
I enjoyed it also. Let's review our classification chart. Then see if our friends listening at home listen carefully and are able to answer these questions. We learned that birds are vertebrates and are warm-blooded. They breathe with lungs. All birds have feathers and lay eggs. Their bones are filled with air cavities, and their beaks and feet have specific purposes. Wow. Boys and girls, do you remember what body parts birds have that enables them to fly? That's right, wings. Also, bird bones have lots of cavities in them which help make them lighter and able to fly. Miss Lydia, do you remember what cavities are?
Yes, cavities are the hollow places in the bones.
Friends at home, you can write in your classification journal the characteristics that classify an animal as a bird. Remember, birds are warm-blooded vertebrates that have wings with feathers, build nests, and lay eggs.
Boys and girls, thank you for being such good listeners today. Be sure to share what you've learned with your family at home. All rights and credits for today's lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank them for publicly sharing these valuable resources. The views and opinions expressed in this lesson are those of the Core Knowledge authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Mississippi Department of Education. We'll see you next time as we continue to learn about classifying animals.